January 12, 2003. A dimly lit room in Phoenix, Arizona. The hum of a computer fan echoes against silence. And on the other side of the screen, a 21-year-old man named Brandon Vedas sits alone, keyboard clacking, chat messages pinging, and a webcam broadcasting every moment to a room full of anonymous strangers. Brandon had logged into an IRC chat room, a virtual hangout for like-minded users who bonded over drugs, tech, and counterculture. His screen name was Ripper. A regular user in the shroomery.org community, Brandon wasn't new to pushing limits. He was known to experiment with substances. In his own words, this was just another weekend, but this night would be anything but ordinary. He typed, "I got a grip of drugs," and he wasn't lying. With his webcam on, Brandon began showcasing the assortment of substances laid out in front of him. Some users urged caution. Others egged him on. "That's a lot of Klonopin," one user warned, but Brandon laughed it off. He started with psilocybin mushrooms, then moved on to clonazepam, 8 milligrams. Then came methadone, 80 milligrams. He downed the entire bottle on camera, followed by propranolol, temazepam, Vicodin, and finally, some 151 proof rum. "Bottoms up," he said. According to his family, everything but the pot and rum were legally prescribed to him by a doctor. His mother was aware he was taking medications for his depression, but what she didn't know was that Brandon had been mixing medications for fun. His brother later said, "It's the ideal situation. It's legal and it's free, and most people assume that if a doctor's giving you something, it must be fine." However, Brandon wasn't like most people. He was keenly aware of the dangers of mixing drugs, so aware, in fact, that it was a point of pride for him. He bragged to other users in chat about his high tolerance, as if he was trying to prove a point. Sure, a high tolerance may have allowed him to take more than a normal person, but on this night, not even the highest of tolerances was going to save him. His mother was in the other room while he sat there downing more and more drugs. More users flooded into the chat. Those who had just tuned in to the stream were shocked by the huge dosage he had just taken, not realizing it was just one of many that he had consumed just minutes earlier. Brandon was creating a deadly concoction of drugs that was about to enter his system, like a ticking time bomb of his own doing, one that was about to go off in less than a half hour. You see, all of the drugs he was taking were considered downers, or depressants, a category of drug that suppresses your body's central nervous system, causing it to react slower, impairing judgment, and, at extreme doses, preventing you from being able to breathe altogether. Each of these drugs can be incredibly dangerous if not taken with the instructions given by the doctor, but when they're combined with other depressants at the same time, the danger increases exponentially. And as some users pointed out, the first handfuls of drugs he took that night hadn't even kicked in yet. Some viewers typed messages of concern. "Don't OD on us, Ripper. You're taking too much." But others saw entertainment. They wanted more. "Eat more. I want to see if you survive." This wasn't just voyeurism. It was digital detachment in its purest form, the kind that could only exist in the early internet, when usernames masked humanity and tragedy felt like fiction. But even Brandon himself could see how dangerous his decisions really were, as he typed instructions to give to the police to help find him. Even over text, his words were starting to slur together, all while the chat watched the drugs begin taking their toll on him. It appeared as if beneath all of the substances he had taken, fear began to set in. Brandon typed his phone number in the chat, in case anything goes wrong, in his words. His messages grew increasingly more concerning, as if he was secretly hoping someone would see his cries for help through his calm, collected appearance. At one point, 2 users, identified only by their screen names as Hast and Oya, realized things were spiraling. They typed, "I'm on the line with 911, but before the call could go through, others intervened. No, don't ruin the trip. He's fine." And just like that, the only potential lifeline was severed. As the chat room filled with nervous laughter and provocative dares, Brandon kept typing, "I told you I was hardcore." Those would be his last known words. Minutes later, silence. No more keystrokes, no more replies. As his webcam was recording all of this, it suddenly froze. Hours passed. The chat room emptied. The internet moved on, but Brandon didn't. The next morning, his mother found him slumped at the foot of his bed. By that point, he was already long gone. His computer still on, his webcam still open, and the chat log, a digital record of his final moments, still visible on the screen. The media wasted no time. They called it the first suicide on the internet. News outlets framed it as a dark milestone in digital history, a man who had live-streamed his own death for an audience of strangers. But was it really suicide? Researchers and online community members later analyzed every line of that night's chat log, and something didn't quite add up. There was no goodbye, no note, and no declaration of intent. One study by a University of Indiana researcher concluded that Brandon's words suggested not suicidal ideation, but reckless bravado. He thought he could handle it. He believed he was in control, and in some twisted way, so did his audience. This wasn't a planned death. It was a toxic cocktail of ego, escapism, and digital peer pressure. Brandon wasn't the first to die while the internet watched, and sadly, he won't be the last. But his case marked the beginning of a new kind of tragedy, one born from the collision of anonymity and apathy, where virtual bystanders are given a front row seat to real-life suffering. Today, his story remains a disturbing reminder of the darker corners of internet history, and the first of many disturbing encounters of the early internet. If you're new here, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Crime Bumps for more deep dives into the dark side of the internet. Be safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.